Hello everyone and welcome to this new episode of Tech Pizza. This is gonna be a particularly important episode because there's a bunch of different news happening in the world that are scaring a lot of people. News about AI becoming sentient, we're gonna try to understand what the hell that means, and news about crypto crashing. So a lot of people that invest in money in crypto is losing a whole lot of cash. And it's important to understand why this is happening, what are we talking about, and how this can impact us. So let's talk about it, let's get started. A Google engineer thinks that Google's AI has become sentient, and Google wants to fire him for that. Let's try to understand what it means and what actually happened. The engineer is called Blake Lemoine, and one of his tasks was to try to understand how a Google AI model called Lambda behaves in specific situations. While he was doing his investigation, Blake became convinced that the AI is sentient. It has feelings, it has a personality, it has thoughts and ideas, and it wants to be free, and it wants to be considered as a person, as a Google employee rather than a Google property. He became so scared that he started sending emails to his manager saying, hey, I think this AI has become sentient, we need to do something about this. And people at Google said, well, no, it's not true, chill, don't talk about this because it's crap. So he became really scared and he started talking to the media. And that's why Google wants to fire him now, because he leaked a lot of confidential information to the media. But now let's try to understand if he's right or not. Is AI sentient? The short answer is no. We need to understand why. These AI models are called language models. All they do is calculate the probability of one word coming after another. So if I ask a question to the AI, for instance, hey, I'm not really feeling good today, what are the feelings that you think I'm experiencing? Based on these words, the AI model is gonna figure out that the most likely word to come after is sadness. Does that mean that this AI model is sentient? No, it feels like it's sentient because it uses language in the same way that we do, but it doesn't really do anything more than predicting which word can come after another. If I say that I feel sad, it's because there's something happening in my brain. There's some chemical reactions, there's some feelings, whatever it is, and then I use my language to say, I am sad. This language model doesn't do this. This language model does nothing more than producing the words, I am sad, but there's no thought behind it, there's no feelings behind it. So no, it is not sentient. We should worry about something else though. What we should worry about is the fact that people risk to anthropomorphize these AI models, which means that even if the model is not sentient, if it feels like it is, people are gonna assume that it is, and they're gonna behave and interact with this model like if the model was sentient. And this has a lot of risks. It risks that people start considering their apps and the services they use as other people, and you may end up in scenarios like the movie Her, where a person falls in love with an artificial intelligence algorithm. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Crypto markets are crashing. Let's try to understand why and why it can become even worse. During the past weekend, Ethereum went all the way down to less than $1,000, considering that its highest point was over $4,000. That's a lot of money gone. And the same thing can be said for Bitcoin as well. The reason why this is happening is because of a perfect storm of different events. Inflation is making people less trusting in how the economy is going to look like in the future, which makes stocks go down. And a lot of people that buy stocks are big investors who also buy crypto. And so when these people start to lose money on one side, they try to sell something on the other side and the whole thing goes down. But it gets even worse. A lot of people got really greedy when crypto was going to the moon, and so they asked for loans. When you get a loan, you're asking your bank to give you some money so that you can invest in something. And your bank says, I'm gonna give you money, but if the asset that you're buying goes down a certain level, either you give me more money because I'm afraid that I'm going to lose everything I gave you, or you're forced to sell. This is called a margin call, and it's something that has happened to a lot of investors. They were pushed to sell their assets, bringing the prices even further down. But it gets even worse. Let's talk about Celsius. Celsius is a crypto platform that does a lot of different things. It's a DeFi platform. It does lending, it does borrowing, it does a bunch of different things related to crypto. And it's huge. It has more than 1.7 million customers, more than $20 billion of assets under management, and it raised more than $800 million in VC funds. So it's really big. The game that Celsius played was the following. You give them crypto and they promise you 6% interest. Now they take your crypto and they do risky stuff that makes them make more than 6% interest. So let's say that they make 8% interest with whatever crypto you gave them, they give you 6% and they keep the other 2%. The problem is that Celsius did some very risky things. It invested in Terra, the cryptocurrency that completely crashed a few weeks ago. They lost a bunch of money in crypto scams, and now they don't have a lot of cash. So since the market is crashing, Celsius found a lot of people that were trying to withdraw Bitcoin. And at some point, they had to stop allowing people to do so, which makes everybody think that Celsius is about to face insolvency, which means that they don't have the money that they're supposed to have. They lost their customers' money, and if their customers want to get it back, it's simply impossible because it's gone. This is a huge problem, and it can become even worse, I promise this is the last thing, because Binance, the biggest crypto exchange, for a few hours stopped Bitcoin withdrawals as well. They said that that was because of a bug, because of a transaction that got stuck. And if that's the case, good. But if Binance is facing insolvency as well, if Binance doesn't have money to give back to the customers, this could be the point that makes the whole castle crumble. Let's see what happens. Some other news in crypto that I consider positive: 2 senators in the US proposed a new crypto bill to try to regulate this industry. And there are 5 key points. First one, no taxes on crypto transactions under $200, which means that you can go to McDonald's and pay with Bitcoin and nobody's gonna be afraid of being taxed on that transaction, which is pretty nice. And this is probably a push to make crypto more like a currency rather than an asset. And that's the second point of the bill. The senators propose to see crypto as a commodity rather than a security, which I'm not gonna get into the technicality of this, but it means that it's not gonna be regulated by the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission. Third thing, people are gonna have custody of their digital assets. What does it mean? A lot of exchanges like Coinbase hold your assets for you, and the bill wants consumers to have the option to get these assets out and self-manage them, which is also good. Fourth point, super important, stable coins must have a 100% reserve. You saw what happened with Terra. It was a stable coin that at some point crumbled. This bill wants stable coins to make sure that they're backed by real assets so that they can give the money back to consumers in case they want to. And fifth thing, a little bit of a niche topic. If you want to mine before you were going to be taxed when you mine, when you earn Bitcoin, this bill wants you to be taxed after you sell, which is going to be good for Bitcoin miners. I tried to keep you out of all the Elon Musk and Twitter drama, but it's about time that we give you a little update, because things are getting weirder if possible. Let's try to summarize everything happened in a few months. So Elon one morning wakes up and thinks, I want to buy Twitter. And he says, Twitter, I want to buy you for $44 billion or $54.20 per share. So this is a joke for 420 with lol funny. Twitter says, hey, show me the money. I don't think you have it. And Elon Musk comes up with a proposal and says, well, here's the money. So Twitter thinks about it and says, okay, sure. You can buy me. And they sign a binding offer. This is important. It means that Elon has to buy Twitter for that specific amount of money. But then something happens. The markets start crashing. And since the market crashed and a lot of the money of Elon Musk is tied into the market with Tesla stock, Elon starts to be a little bit scared. Either doesn't want to buy Twitter anymore, or he wants to pay less. And so he needs to come up with an excuse. The excuse that he finds is that he thinks it's not true that Twitter has just 5% of bots. And so he says, hey, Twitter, either you give me proof that it's just 5% or I'm not gonna buy you. Which, by the way, is not legal. He has to buy it. Twitter says, I cannot give you this information because I will have to give you data of our users and that will be a breach of privacy. And so Elon's lawyers, who are very smart, come up with this idea. They say, okay, we cannot use the excuse of the 5% of bots to not buy Twitter, but Twitter is not giving us information, and that is an excuse. We are going to use this to try to get out of the deal. But Twitter now said, you know what, actually get our data. And they gave Elon Musk access to the fire hose. The fire hose is a live stream of all the hundreds of millions of tweets that get posted every day. The wild thing that happened in the last couple of days is that the Texas Attorney General started an investigation against Twitter, saying that he needs to make sure that it's actually true that just 5% of bots, because if that's not true, then Texas companies using Twitter are being defrauded. And the wild thing is that Twitter has been saying this number, 5% of bots, for like 8 years. And right now, just because Elon Musk, out of the blue, came up with this thing that is more than 5%. The Texas Attorney General is starting an investigation. So basically, Elon Musk, by basically being bored and decided to play with his own money and with the entire world, is starting an investigation from the Texas State Attorney based on nothing. This is getting really wild, and I hope you appreciated that I kept you out of the loop because it's been crazy. But I had to update you on this one because it's getting always weirder. I want to close this episode talking about a little deep dive that I've made. I scraped data about a crypto economy and try to understand how unequal that is. Let me elaborate. You may know about the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs. These are the most successful NFTs ever, pictures of monkeys that have been bought by Eminem, Paris Hilton, etc., etc. Now, the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFTs are part of a bigger community. There's a project to build a metaverse called Other Side, and there's also a cryptocurrency called ApeCoin. Now, the community of people holding ApeCoin decided to vote to bring that currency outside of the Ethereum blockchain because of a bunch of reasons that I talked about in the video. Let's not get too much into the details. But what I've done is that I downloaded data about all these transactions and I tried to analyze how unequal that economy is. And I found out some pretty interesting things. First of all, the votation ended up with a vote in favor of bringing ApeCoin outside of the Ethereum blockchain with a very small margin. 53% of the votes were in favor. But the interesting thing is that the votes are proportional to how much ApeCoin you have. So if instead of looking the single votes, you look at how many people voted in favor or against, you get a very different outcome. It turns out that just 13.3% of the population were against this change, but they had so much money that their vote almost flipped the outcome. Specifically, the median wallet of somebody in favor of this votation had 9.5 ApeCoins, whereas the median wallet of somebody against it, more than 1,000. 9 whales out of all the 800 people that voted controlled as much ApeCoin as the other 792 people. If this was an economy and we calculate how unequal it is, we need to calculate something called the Gini coefficient, which is something that goes from 0 to 100. To give you an idea, the most unequal economy in the world today is South Africa, which has a Gini coefficient of 63. The Gini coefficient of the ApeCoin economy is 92. Which makes it by far the most unequal economy in the world. And this is something I've been thinking for a while. In theory, crypto is democratic, equal, and allows anybody to have access to this. In practice, though, there's a lot of people that got in early in the economy and make so much money in crypto that de facto, they are the ones in control. They are the ones that control every decision, and it's a more unequal situation that we have today in the fiat world, in the normal economy. Thank you for watching this episode of Tech Pizza, packed with interesting news, right? If you like this format, please subscribe to the newsletter on techpizza.live and send it to your friends, all your friends that want to know everything that is happening in tech. They will love this, so send it to them and they'll be grateful. And I will be grateful as well. I'll see you next week. Ciao.